Once upon a time, in the quaint town of Riverview, there lived a young boy named Max. He was bright, ambitious, and dreamt of making a difference in the world. However, he struggled with a dilemma that plagued his daily life: how to make decisions that would shape his future. Should he follow his heart, or heed the advice of those around him? The conflicting voices in his head often left him paralyzed, unable to act. Max's life changed one brisk autumn afternoon when he stumbled upon a small bookstore tucked away in a narrow alley. Intrigued by the warm glow of its window, he stepped inside. The scent of aged paper and ink enveloped him, guiding him to the psychology section. Among the many tomes, one caught his eye: a book about the dual processes in human thinking. As he flipped through the pages, Mrs. Patel, the bookstore owner, noticed his engrossed expression and approached. "That one will change your perspective," she said with a knowing smile. Mrs. Patel explained that it was about two modes of thinking, one that is quick and instinctive, and another that is fundamental and deliberate. Intrigued, Max purchased the book, eager to discover how these modes influenced not only his decisions but also everyone around him. The allure of quick thinking. The next few days saw Max absorbed in the book. He learned that quick thinking operates automatically and rapidly, with little or no effort. "It's the little voice in your head that makes snap judgments," he read. "It's how you recognize a friend in a crowd or dodge a ball flying toward your face." Fascinated, Max recalled his own life experiences where quick thinking had saved him from embarrassing mishaps or even harm. One afternoon, while walking through the park, Max encountered a squirrel leaping across his path. Instinctively, he sidestepped without thinking, feeling his heart race at the near miss. It was his quick thinking at work, reacting to potential danger without waiting for deliberation. However, he also learned that this rapid-fire thinking could lead to mistakes, especially when complex issues were at play. The book outlined various biases that stemmed from this impulsive thinking. Max noted a story about how a skilled interviewer often made judgments about candidates in mere seconds, based on their body language or appearance. The book highlighted how those snap judgments could lead to overlooking qualified individuals simply because they lacked polished presentation skills. Inspired by this, Max made it his mission to slow down his decision-making process surrounding his future career. The wisdom of fundamental thinking. The next section of the book introduced him to fundamental thinking, which requires mental effort and concentration. "This is where careful thinking resides," he read, contemplating the conversations he had with his grandfather, who had always encouraged him to take his time and think things through. He recalled sitting with his grandfather in his workshop, watching him meticulously sand a piece of wood, ensuring that every detail was perfect. He relied heavily on his fundamental thinking, ensuring he made informed decisions rather than relying on instinct alone. Yet, Max felt an internal battle when he considered applying to a summer internship program. His heart raced at the thought of entry exams and interviews, while his dreams of gaining work experience lingered at the back of his mind. Deliberation gracefully intertwined with fear, causing him to second-guess himself. One evening, he approached his grandfather for advice. As they sat on the porch, he nervously articulated his concerns, fearful of making the wrong choice. His grandfather listened intently, encouraging him to take a step back and apply fundamental thinking. "Make a pros and cons list," he suggested, pulling out a piece of paper and a pencil. "Think about your long-term goals. What do you genuinely want?" Max scribbled down his thoughts, weighing the pros and cons of each option. As he wrote, his grandfather nodded, offering words of encouragement. Max's concerns dissipated, replaced by a sense of clarity and purpose. Over the coming days, Max continued to read the book, devouring every word. He became fascinated by the concept of framing, where the presentation of information influenced our decisions. He thought about how his own biases might be shaped by the way information was presented and how he could use this knowledge to make better decisions. The power of framing. Max's grandfather, a wise and experienced man, had always emphasized the importance of considering multiple perspectives. He encouraged Max to look at problems from different angles, to weigh the pros and cons of every option. This approach had always served him well, but now he saw how framing could also play a role. One evening, as they sat on the porch, Max's grandfather shared a story about a businessman who had made a decision based on the way a statistic was presented. The statistic had been framed in a particular way, highlighting the positive aspects of the situation, but omitting the negative. The businessman had been fooled by the presentation, making a decision that ultimately cost him dearly. Max listened intently, his eyes wide with understanding. He saw how framing could be used to manipulate people, to influence their decisions without them even realizing it. He vowed to be more aware of the way information was presented, to look beyond the initial impression and consider the full context. The importance of mentorship. As Max delved deeper into the book, he became increasingly aware of the need for mentorship. He realized that having a wise and experienced guide could help him navigate the complexities of life, providing him with the knowledge and insights he needed to make informed decisions. He approached his grandfather with newfound respect, asking him to serve as his mentor. His grandfather, pleased and honored, agreed to take on the role. Together they pored over the book, discussing each chapter and exploring the concepts in greater depth. Their conversations became a highlight of Max's day, a time to reflect on his experiences and consider new perspectives. He learned about the importance of self-reflection, the need to consider his own biases and assumptions. He began to see the world in a different light, as a complex and multifaceted place where different perspectives and approaches were often needed. The road to wisdom. The journey of self-discovery is never easy, but for Max, it had begun. He had taken the first step, recognizing the need to develop his critical thinking skills and seek out mentorship. He had also begun to understand the power of framing, how the presentation of information could influence his decisions. As he continued to read and learn, Max became increasingly aware of the need to cultivate wisdom. He saw wisdom as a combination of knowledge, experience, and discernment, a quality that would serve him well in all areas of life. His grandfather, sensing Max's newfound understanding, smiled knowingly. "Wisdom is a journey, not a destination," he said. "It takes time and effort to develop, but the rewards are well worth it." Max nodded, his heart full of gratitude. He knew that he still had much to learn, but he was willing to take on the challenge. With his grandfather by his side, he knew that he could overcome any obstacle and reach his full potential. The challenge of decision-making. As days turned into weeks, Max's newfound insights began to manifest in his everyday life. He faced decisions at school, relationships with friends, and extracurricular activities. He remembered the lessons he had learned from the book and his grandfather, taking a breath before responding, considering the consequences of his choices, and viewing problems from various angles. At school, when a group project was assigned, Max was eager to demonstrate his improved decision-making skills. His friends, Emily and Jack, had different ideas on how to approach the project. Emily favored an elaborate presentation filled with visuals, while Jack proposed a more straightforward, research-based report. Max took it upon himself to facilitate the conversation, encouraging both friends to express their thoughts fully. After hearing both sides, he suggested an approach that combined their ideas, creating a captivating presentation that also highlighted their research findings. His friends were impressed by how he not only valued their opinions, but also helped them arrive at a compromise that made everyone happy. The process wasn't easy, nor was it always smooth. There were moments of tension, disagreements that led to raised voices, and times when Max felt overwhelmed by the responsibility of ensuring everyone was heard. Yet he remembered his grandfather's words about patience and understanding, and kept reminding himself that complex problems often required careful navigation. Through these trials, Max learned to embrace discomfort as part of the journey of growth. He noticed that as he navigated these challenges, he grew more confident in his abilities. Each decision became less about the fear of making the wrong choice, and more about the opportunity to learn and improve, breaking down failures. As the school year progressed, Max faced setbacks too. He tried out for the soccer team and, despite all his preparation, didn't make the cut. For a brief moment, sadness washed over him, and he contemplated giving up altogether. But then he remembered a chapter in the book that emphasized how failures could be reframed as learning opportunities. Instead of sinking into despair, he decided to ask his coach for feedback on his performance. To his surprise, the coach agreed to meet with him. They sat down, and Max listened intently as the coach provided insights on his strengths and areas for improvement. This feedback sparked a fire within Max. He realized that he could work on his skills and try again next year. More importantly, he learned to view setbacks not as dead ends, but as stepping stones on his pathway toward growth. In the months that followed, he channeled his disappointment into determination. He joined a local soccer clinic, where he engaged with other aspiring players and honed his skills. It wasn't just about soccer. It was about confronting challenges head-on and refusing to let fear of failure deter him. Max's thoughts drifted to the book as he persevered. He appreciated the importance of grit and resilience emphasized throughout its pages. No longer was he looking for immediate gratification. He was learning the value of patience and persistence. The vision for the future. As summer approached, Max felt a surge of excitement. He had decided to apply for that summer internship in a local community organization. With the support of his grandfather, he painstakingly prepared his application, ensuring that each section reflected his genuine passion for making a difference. The night before he submitted the application, he sat down with his grandfather to go over everything one last time. They reviewed his resume, practiced his interview skills, and discussed potential questions. Max felt both anxious and exhilarated, knowing this was a significant step toward his career aspirations. He understood the value of the decision he was making, framed by his newfound mindset. The following weeks brought a mix of anticipation and nervousness as he awaited news from the organization. His grandfather reminded him often, "Whatever the outcome, remember you are already successful for having taken this step. You are learning to make decisions, to confront your fears, and to seek out wisdom." Days later, an email finally arrived. Max opened it with bated breath. He had been selected for an interview. His heart raced as he read the congratulatory message. That moment of electric happiness felt like the culmination of all the lessons he'd learned in recent months, a reflection of his hard work and dedication, strengthened by his previous experiences. he approached the interview with a confidence he hadn't had before. It wasn't just about getting the internship. It was a chance to showcase how far he had come, to exhibit the wisdom he had gained through failures and successes alike. As he sat across from the interview panel, he spoke passionately about his aspirations. He referenced the importance of mentorship and collaboration, showcasing his ability to lead while also allowing space for others to shine. It was more than just a formal interview. It felt like a conversation where he could share his vision of creating a positive impact in his community, the impact of growth. After what felt like an eternity, the interview concluded, and Max left the building filled with a sense of pride. Regardless of the outcome, he had taken yet another step toward personal growth. His grandfather would be proud of his dedication, and he had learned that the journey itself was just as important as the destination. Days turned into weeks as Max awaited the outcome of his interview. He spent time volunteering at local shelters, putting his burgeoning skills to practice. The work he engaged in, whether arranging supplies or helping to distribute meals, further solidified his commitment to making a difference. He fostered a sense of community by collaborating with others who shared his passion. It fueled his desire to contribute even more. Then one afternoon, just as he was returning home from a volunteering session, an email pinged on his phone. It was from the community organization. Max's heart raced as he opened it. This time, the message was a beacon of success. He had been accepted as an intern. Overjoyed, he rushed to share the news with his grandfather. Together they celebrated his achievement, filled with laughter and stories about what lay ahead. Max knew he wasn't just stepping into a summer internship. He was embracing a new chapter of growth, filled with opportunities to learn, to fail, and to succeed. That summer, Max would put into practice everything he had learned about decision-making, mentorship, and resilience. Looking ahead, Max felt a renewed sense of purpose. He envisioned not only how he would engage in community projects, but also how he would continue to develop himself as a thinker, a leader, and a compassionate individual. The journey would be challenging, filled with uncertainties, but he now had the tools to navigate it effectively, a blend of quick thinking and deliberate thought, framed by a growing sense of wisdom and clarity. Max knew that life would continue to present him with choices, each like a new chess move in a game that had no final endpoint. Yet, with every decision he made, he was excited to capture the essence of experience and to learn from the infinite lessons embedded in life itself. The adventure had just begun, and he couldn't wait to see where it would lead him next.